Hi, please let me know. My screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, Mohammed, it's visible.
Thank you, Hema. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Very good morning to everyone. So let me start with my introduction. So myself, Mohammed Ali. I have 15 years of experience in IT infra support. I certified in Microsoft Azure, Nutanix, and my Microsoft certificate trainer. So I have experience in managing servers in Nutanix, Azure, VMware, Hyper-V, and I say my second is skill set like backup management, Office 365, and .NET application hosting. Okay, so we provide courses like Microsoft Azure. So we normally provide Azure Administrator, Tamil and English batch, and we provide AWS virtualization system admin. These course based on the student requirement. So we usually provide Microsoft Azure and Office 365. Okay, so how the class design? Okay, so whoever registered, okay, you can contact after this first class. Okay, so Saki will start with introduction about the course overview and how the course going to be and benefits of the course and everything. He will start with the introduction and he will take over. So the class design like so you will get recordings after the session complete. You will get by recording through your email. Okay, so it's shared to your registered email. Okay, you can go and watch the recordings. Okay, so the class timing is like 9:30 ist. Okay, 9:30 to 11:30. Hema, it's fine for rate. It's I just extended a half an hour because you're connecting from UK. So 9:30 ist morning.
Fine, Mohammed. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Sakib, over to you. You can take forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. So, guys, I'll be your instructor, and my name is Sakib, and I have about 5 years of total experience with Microsoft 365 technologies, including Azure, Entra ID, Intune. So, we'll be going over through this class over weekend sessions. Each session is designed for about 2 hours, where we'll be cover most of the Microsoft 365 services initially, and then we will move to Entra ID services, and after that we will cover Intune. So the core is designed for specifically for job readiness. We will try to cover as many of services as possible to make sure that we have an overview of how the entire thing works in a unified solution at the enterprise level. So let me
Sorry,
quickly show
Sakib.
you.
Share the screen. I will share later.
Yeah, I'm sharing now. I'll go with
Oh, okay.
the. Let me quickly take you guys with the course that we have. So it's like 16 sessions over 8 weeks. So week one would be the foundations, where we will discuss the core concepts of Microsoft 365. What is the overview of 365? How it's built? What are the admin portals that we can access within it, and we will try to get done the initial configuration of Microsoft 365 services, and we'll discuss the licensing models, how is it applied at different business scales, normal, small and medium scale business, enterprise business, and also personal. So, and tomorrow we'll start with the Entra Identity Fundamentals, wherein we will discuss what are the different ways of securing our identity for our organization, what are the different authentication methods, and how to set up SSPR, MFAs, some of the services related to the identity, which gives users their, some features to make their accounts more secure. Then week two, we will start with the different objects which are available within identity, like users, groups, and how the access is managed. And then Within week 2, we will also have 2 sessions. One is the objects-based session, users and group management, wherein we will discuss about user lifecycle, what are the different roles, how the user provisioning is done, what is the automation included within it, and then we'll discuss the role-based access control model. Session 4, which will be next week, the entire session is based on conditional access. So it's one of the core concepts which aligns with the zero trust architecture, which makes the entire system secure. And the entire session will be based on that, where we will discuss what are conditional accesses, how they help in maintaining the zero trust architecture, and what are the services and features included within Microsoft 365 to implement that architecture. And then from week 3, we will start deep diving into the individual services within Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365 is a combination of multiple services, right? So from week 3, we will start going deep into each service, and we will start with Exchange Online. So Exchange Online is a service which is responsible for emails, basically. So when an organization signs up for Exchange Online, and what they are basically looking for is email system for their organization and everything that comes with it, the architecture of that email services, the mail flow, how the emails will go and out of their organization, and how will users be able to see how those emails are to be made secured, what are some security concepts like DKIM, DMARC, which are used to secure. So the entire session will be related to that. And then session 6 will be continuation of the Exchange Online, and we will go into the mailbox management. So what really mailboxes are, how mailboxes are created, what are some features and services responsible for creation of those mailboxes, how the email is traced from one user to another user, whether the email which was sent is being uh, correctly delivered to the users, and everything, and those services we will take, and the data within the emails, that is how to archive that data, what are some archiving policies that we are going to implement to make sure that data lasts long with the organization. So we can archive data up to 10, 12, 15 years, right? So what are those policies included within it? That will also be covered. And then we'll move into week 4. So week 4 will be the combination of multiple services, where we will discuss about Microsoft Teams, SharePoint services, and OneDrive. So SharePoint and OneDrive are mostly really similar, and they are related to the data storage and how we can save our data, and how we can use those are basically the collaboration services. So basically they are the backend for file storage, intranet, and document libraries for an organization. So you might have come across scenarios where a different team, like say HR, wants a confidential document library, which can be accessed by only HR team, which would have the salary information, other regulatory information of all the users. So those kinds of information are saved over SharePoint for the organization, and how to protect and make those libraries secure. We will also discuss about that. And then the compliance, week 5 will go into compliance, which is also important. So we know that different organizations, depending upon their nature of business, would have to follow different compliance regulations as per the government. For example, if the organization is a healthcare organization, right, so they would have to protect their customers' data, medical data, and if the organization is a financial organization, how they will protect the financial information of their customers. And the regulations around that are implemented through compliance. And we have a dedicated compliance portal from Microsoft within Microsoft 365 called as Microsoft Purview. So in this session, we are going to discuss the fundamentals of Microsoft Purview. What are some processes and features provided by it to protect the customer data? For example, we can initiate the process services like sensitivity labels, data loss prevention, and audit, which is also one of the most important features, how the audit is done, how the audit is enabled on the tenant so that administrator can track every user's, uh, you know, and it can track every click the user does, and every information is stored and retained within the audit logs. With session 10 will be the continuation of the same purview, where we will be implementing and testing all these features like sensitivity labs, data loss prevention, retention policies, and we will, continue working on it. Week 6, so that would be the most of the Microsoft 365 services. We will try to cover as many services as possible and try to more be on a scenario based practical life, because the goal of this entire course is to be job ready, right? So whenever next after finishing this course you will be attending interviews, the expectation of the interviewer is always like you have had good hands-on knowledge. So instead of focusing more on the theoretical part, we will focus on the scenario based situations, which are real world examples, which as an IT administrator or Microsoft 365 admin, you would come across day to day in your job. So from first 5 weeks are fully dedicated to Microsoft 365, and then we will move on to Entra ID, which is a online version of mm, Azure. Initially, it was called as Azure AD. Basically, what it does is it will help us creation of identity. Identity is the most important part in entire organization. So identity is something that lets you define who you are and what your access role is. So how when we create a user, it is identity. Consider identity as your badge in an organization. So when you get into the organization, you have to show your badge, ID badge, right, to the security guard, and only after that he will let you inside the office premises. So identity is like that. It's your badge to get access to the resources within the organization, whatever the features and services you would be using only after you have the right identity on it. So the entire identity is managed within Entra ID, and to see how your sign-ins will be protected, how your conditional accesses will be applied on your user, and what are the risk policies associated with the identity. We will be discussing all those stuff, how to create users, how to provide access to the users, what is the method that we are going to use to provide the access. Is the access provision going to be manual? How to automate that stuff? So everything will be included within the Entra ID. And then we will also discuss some advanced concepts like PIM, which is based on the principle of least privilege. So how Entra ID helps us to implement principle of zero architecture, principle of least privileges, and what are the ways to make sure that those principles remain there and the access that is granted to each identity is least, and how to prevent the overexposure of the access in the organization. So all those concepts and practicals around those things we are going to discuss within protection and conditional access advanced lectures for session 11 and 12. Then week 7 will be dedicated to Intune, which is a device management solution from Microsoft, wherein we will come to know how the organization prevents its devices, right? And how it secures and assigns them to the users, how the organization makes their own custom images of the operating systems, and what are the features, and um, how it can be prevented and hardened against any attacks, external attacks, and how the restrictions can be put in place so that the users would not be able to do anything outside of the office work, like how to block certain websites on the devices through Intune, how to install antivirus on these devices, and what are the policies that need to be set up in the back end when we give a device to a new user, how it is enrolled within the organization's policies. So all that we are going to discuss in Intune Fundamental. And then week 8, which would be the final week, is the policies and how to push apps to the laptop. So basically, when we provide apps, when we provide a laptop to the user at the organization level, the user would not have the access to install any apps of their own. So how through Intune we can make app installation easy and prevent the exposure of installing apps to the users. So all these features we'll be discussing, and then we can do a small project where we can build a tenant from scratch on our own and have all these services and features enabled on the tenant, and see how they would be impacted and what could be the real-time scenarios that could come from these services from the users end users point of view, and you as an IT admin or Microsoft 365 admin would be able to resolve those services. During the entire course, I'll be sharing some, additional tips, you can say, which I have come across during my tenure working as Microsoft 365. And we can continue to see what these services which will help us in landing a job and continue to grow in the service as well. So that was real quick about the course duration and how we have set up this course. If you guys have any question regarding it, please feel free to ask. No questions, guys? Okay, no worries. Let me quickly. So the prerequisites for this course, there aren't many, but I would recommend you guys create your own accounts on Microsoft 365. We'll go through the process again. So you would just have to have a trial license of Microsoft 365 account, which you can purchase on any credit card or debit card, and it will be trial for 1 month, and then you can cancel those licenses. It will not get any charge for this. I also have a tenant available. As you can see my screen, this is a demo tenant from Microsoft. I can give you the access to this tenant, and you can have you can have a look at all the services and how to implement, but the only thing is that the licensing will not be available within this tenant. So if you do not want to use the licenses, but you want to have a look at the services and all the, what are the features, and like Entride is here, Purview is here, right? How to create the users and all that stuff you will be able to do, but only licensing will not be available. So after this class, I'll go ahead and create all your guys' accounts, and then I'll share those details to you on your email so that you can, have a look and feel comfortable with the UI. So this site is the 365 Admin Center. We can log into it by going to portal.com, And as you can see, it says Contoso Electronics. So this is a demo tenant from Microsoft, and they have named their organization as Contoso for this demo purposes. So, and this is the main admin center within it, and these are the flyouts which give us access to different features. So like we have the main features are like users, groups, roles, and billing section. What are the different menus around the billing? Microsoft 365. What are the different admin centers available to us? So we'll be going through all of these stuff one by one. This is just an overview of the tenant and how it looks like. And
Shakib, sorry
yeah,
for the interruption.
yeah,
Yeah. For this, you will share the link for us, right? To check it.
yes. So like you can see, there are multiple users already created here and viewing this, right? So I will create your users as well, and you should receive an email which you have already registered with us. You have registered a form, right? So you will receive your user account details on that email.
Before I
So that
need to create any account.
no, not for this.
Okay.
No.
I am okay. I am working in my office as well. They are using this the Microsoft
Okay,
365 Admin Center.
okay.
Hema,
So
sorry to
it
interrupt.
will,
So you will invite as a guest.
Okay. Oh, okay, 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 okay.
yeah.
Am I right, Sakib?
So, yeah. You can automatically, once you receive the email credentials, you can just go to portal.office.com and use the sign in with those credentials, and you will have access to this entire portal.
Okay.
Like you see, multiple users are created here. So like you would also be one of the users who will be created, and you will receive all and then you can play around the tenant. You can work on different features and services as we move along the course. This would be your like sandbox environment, lab environment, which you can access. So this has some limited features, right? Because this is a demo tenant from Microsoft. But if you're looking for a full featured tenant, then you would have to create a tenant of your own and take it on a trial purpose. Ali, can you please mute? Yeah, thanks. So let me go through the course content for day one, whatever is available for us today.
Um, Shakib,
Yeah.
before, can you please tell about what are the courses we can complete if we done this course?
So
What are the courses
basically,
we can able to cover? Could you please explain about that?
yeah, so fundamentally in this, after the completion of this course, you would be having a hands-on on three technologies. These are three different technologies within Microsoft 365. One is the core Microsoft 365 services, right? And the other are Entra ID and Intune. So they have a all different path together. And for Microsoft 365, you can consider going for MS 900 initially.
Mm.
And for Entra ID, you can go for SC 900.
SC
And
900.
yes, SC
Mm.
900, security and compliance. And for Intune, you can go for MD 102. So these are the official certifications from Microsoft regarding these technologies. MD 102 will be more advanced out of these three. For that, you would have to put in efforts also, because everything within the 102 we will not be able to cover here, because this is not a dedicated for Intune only. This is a combination of the three technologies, and for 102 we will cover all the basic included within the Intune, but you might have to still go and do some self work also, because 102 also has hybrid architecture in it for the certification, but we will not be covering the hybrid architecture here for Intune. We'll be only covering cloud-based architecture. For 102, so you would have to do some more self-learning for 102, and SC900 and MS900, both of those should be mostly covered.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So for today, we will just go through the core foundations of Microsoft 365. What is the ecosystem like, and what is the tenant structure? What are the basic licensing models, and what are the different admin centers available to us? Because we'll be working as an admin, right? So we would be mostly um, using the admin centers depending upon the different kinds of tickets that we'll be getting as an admin, and to be able to know the feature that we are going to work on, the service that the customer is requesting is available in which admin center. And because for customer everything is Microsoft 365, right? So they would come to us and say that they want this service to be available within their Microsoft 365 tenant. But it's up to us to identify the service and make sure how it is implemented, what are the different prerequisites for it, is the customer eligible for this service, right? So all of those things we will be discussing during this entire duration of the course. And at the end, you should have a fair idea of identifying the services. So, introduction to Microsoft 365. What is Microsoft 365? So, over the years, Microsoft 365 has, gone through multiple versions and changes, which has made it a very vast, and the products keep on adding by Microsoft. It is one of the most popular services on the planet. Microsoft claims like they have 1 billion active users of Microsoft 365. That's why the demand is very huge. Almost every organization uses Microsoft 365 in one way or other for their organizational needs. So initially, it just came as an email system, right? So when an organization is set up, the first thing they want to have is a secure communication system for their employees. So that's where Microsoft 365 came in. Initially, how it was done, it was entirely done through servers. So whenever an organization used to be set up, and they would create a separate email communication system, they would set up servers for their organization, and these would be physical huge blocks costing a lot of money, and there would be a need of a separate team, right, IT team, to make sure that this server is managed on day-to-day basis, and all the features and services, this is kept up to date to prevent any uh, right, to prevent any attacks and all that stuff. So that server is called as Exchange server. So this is responsible for email system within an organization. But since this is an on-premises means basically it's a physical server, right? And there are a lot of catches with getting a physical system, because let us suppose you get a configuration, because this would come in configurations, right? So initially you have 10 people in your organization. So you need a physical server for email system only for 10 people. So if you would get a smaller configuration, like RAM will be around RAM 256, right? Just an example, not fully. There would be a processing GPU unit, right? That would be a right 1 TB and around that. uh, and the config, you would have to pay the upfront cost for this configuration and get the server delivered to your organization. And then tomorrow, let's suppose your organization grows and you get the number headcount reaches to 100 people. The same configuration that you have already purchased will not be able to support all the 100 people. At that time, you cannot upgrade this entirely, so you would have to get a new server with a bigger configuration to support 100 people. So those are the challenges with the traditional on-prem servers, and this used to be get very costly because initially you just had one server for 10 people and you had one people to manage all these services. Now that you have 100 team, you would have to increase your IT staff as well to make sure that this server is, and the costs associated with this would go on increasing with whenever your organization requires another set of servers. So to prevent all these capital costs, Microsoft introduced a cloud-based system for their email system or a replacement for Exchange server. That Exchange server is called Exchange Online, which is one of the service provided within the Microsoft 365. So what Microsoft did is instead of launching a separate cloud system for each service within their organization, they just launched a unified platform called Microsoft 365, which would have all the services included which were earlier available to the customer through on-prem solutions or through server solutions. It would have Exchange Online, it would have SharePoint Online, it would have Teams for collaboration, it would have OneDrive, it would have Entra ID, and then it would also have Intune. So all of this are combined, all of these servers are combined into a single package called Microsoft 365. So basically, it's a cloud productivity platform offering email storage and collaboration. For email, the service is called Exchange Online. For storage, we have OneDrive and SharePoint. For collaboration, we have Teams. And unified management of users, apps, groups, and security. So this is done through Entra ID, which we discussed earlier. And it also supports modern hybrid workforce. So hybrid is important. What does this mean, hybrid workforce? So let's suppose, take the earlier example. I have the on-prem infra ready. I have the Exchange server for my 10 users. Okay. And now I am getting 100 users. So instead of keeping the same, I need to upgrade my infrastructure. I need to upgrade my server, physical server. So there are two ways of doing this server, this upgrade. Either I will purchase the entire new thing, right? I will purchase a server that can support 100 users with a higher configuration, right? But that will be too much costly and it will make my this server redundant and this is no longer in use. The other thing I can do is I can migrate my current structure to Microsoft 365 so that I don't have to purchase the entire stuff again. I just have to purchase the licenses available within the Microsoft 365 for those 100 users which are coming in. And what the beauty of this is, like the existing infrastructure will also work and the new online Microsoft 365 services will also be working. They will be working in sync with each other. The new 100 users will be registered or created or available on Microsoft 365 services. They will be getting their services and features from the online portal. The existing 10 users will continue to work as they used to before and will receive all their features, services from the existing server. So the both of the systems will work in sync with each other. And when an organization has that kind of environment, that environment is called as hybrid environment or hybrid workforce.
Okay, Sakib, I have one doubt.
Hmm.
The server is you called the directory, right? Active Directory.
No, that is one part of the domain server. So Microsoft gives multiple servers depending upon the work that server is going to do.
Yeah.
So we have different servers available from Microsoft. One is the Exchange server, other is the domain server. Exchange server is responsible for email system. Domain server is responsible for creating users, groups, authentication, apps, managing devices. This is the domain server. So, for example, when you get into the organization, right, and you sit at your desk and try to log in into a computer, how that computer knows that this user is the correct user and the password that the user has entered, the username that the user has entered exists in the organization because that computer is connected to the domain,
Mhm.
domain server. And one of the services within the domain server is AD service.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So these are different servers with different functions and different services. So they work in sync with each other. And this domain server, this exchange server is part of the on-prem servers. On-prem means which is a physical server
Yeah, I'm asking
within the
for that.
organization.
Yeah, my question
Mm-hmm.
is, we have 10 users in on-prem, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In the AD, okay. For
Yes.
example, I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
now we got a Microsoft ID as well. In that Intune as well,
Mm-hmm.
they have entered. What is my question is, the 10 users are old user, okay, they are migrated from, for example, ARS to Azure, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone joining new to the organization, is they are adding to the on-prem or the
Mm-hmm.
cloud? That is my question.
So it depends from organization to organization because so see both of the systems
Let
are
me,
in place.
Sakib,
Exchange,
let me clarify. Sakib,
sure.
sorry to interrupt. Let me clarify. See, Hema, actually, see, Active Directory is like on-prem servers. Okay, so usually organization manage M365 Azure or online product in Azure only. Okay, so if user created in on-premises, okay, Active Directory as Sakib said, okay, the user will sync with the Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. Okay, Azure Active, once the Azure Active is synced, okay, the same username password will be available in Exchange as well. Okay, so once the user is created and synced in Exchange, okay, you can apply licenses like E1, E2, E3, E5 based on licenses. Okay, but ultimately the users usually created in on-premises. Okay, still organization keep creating users in on-premises only, like bigger organization. But smaller organization, okay, for example, the remote organization, like small companies, so they don't invest in on-premises create manage. Okay, what they will do, they directly create users in Azure or Exchange. Okay, if user create an exchange, okay, you can use official license exchange itself of M365 as well. Or if you're creating users in Azure Active Directory, you can use the same credentials in exchange itself.
Yes, that's right. So the key or to remember here is like if an organization already has an on-prem system, like big banks, the organization has been working since 10, 15, 20 years, they would most probably be using AD as their default service, and every time a new user comes in, they would first create the user within AD and then sync it over to Microsoft 365 and then apply all the licenses, requirement, features, services, roles from here. But the user would be originally created in AD. But like Ali said, in case of smaller organization or newer organization who do not have on-prem systems, they would directly create the user within Microsoft 365 and then sync it over to Intune and other services included in it. Any other questions, guys? All right, let's move to the next. So what are the core components of Microsoft 365? So like we said, that Microsoft 365 is a combination of multiple services offered by Microsoft. It's called like a unified cloud platform, which combines email services, storage services, collaboration services, including identity, security also, and device management. So each of the service has its own location within the Microsoft 365, and that location is called like an admin center. So for each service, it has its own admin center. For cloud email and everything related to email, like mailbox, like calendaring, right? Licenses, it is managed within Exchange Online. This is a substitute for the Exchange server. So initially, we used to have Exchange server to maintain the email system. Now we have the Exchange Online, which is a cloud-based system where the organizations do not need to pay upfront cost for the entire infrastructure to make their email system available for their organization. They can just go to the online and purchase a license, user-based license for Exchange Online service, and entire infrastructure cost which will be incurred at the back end will be taken care of by Microsoft itself. We just have to pay them for the license for each user will be using the email system for. And then the other service is SharePoint, which is a document and site management library. So this is a collaboration tool, which at the back end is for file storage and document libraries. So how it works is we have different users, right? And let's suppose we have a team and we have 5 users within a team. So each user is working on one task, another user is working on another task, right? Different to accomplish a common goal. When these guys will complete these 5 tasks, a particular project will complete. So how to collaborate with each other, because these are working independently of each other, right? So for this purpose, SharePoint was created. So how it works practically is like uh, these 5 guys who are working, they will have a manager or a team lead, right? So they will create a site on SharePoint for this project, and these 5 members will be part of this project, and whatever work they do, they will upload it to this site so that everyone will be in sync with each other and they should be able to know which team member is doing what work, what is the progress of the work. So it automatically enhances the collaboration among the employees in different ways. So for that, we have SharePoint. And once we go through the SharePoint services in the upcoming classes, we will go deep down into how the sites are created, what is the purpose of sites, what are the types of sites, and how the access is maintained. Now that we have created a site for a particular project, we want this project only to be visible for these 5 members, right? So not for the other teams, how to make it like that, and what are the further accesses that are given to these 5 members, who will be the or admin of this site, who will be the owner of this site. And with those roles comes different accesses. Owner will be able to create a new site, delete, remove the members. He would be the team lead usually, or the project manager. The others would be the members only. They will not be able to add new members to the project. They will not be able to remove any members from the existing project, right? So all that we will discuss once we and how to implement all those settings once we move into the SharePoint week. And then OneDrive. So this is for the collaboration for the team, but what about a storage for a particular user? The user should also have a storage space available, on the cloud where he can save his documents, stuff, and should be only viewed or accessible to him. Consider of it like a private Google Drive, or a corporate, rather corporate Google Drive, wherein the user is using his office credentials and to store all office related information on the cloud. Because what if the user is storing all the things on his laptop, and after 2 to 3 years the laptop gets crashed, right? Or the hard drive becomes, or hard drive fails, operating system crashed, and we have to do the fresh reset of the operating system, then entire data of that user will be lost. So to prevent this kind of situation, we have given every user a personal uh, personal storage wherein they can save their data in the cloud in OneDrive for data storage purposes. So how the licenses are managed within the OneDrive, what are the different sync issues that come with it on day-to-day basis, all those things we will be discussing when we cover OneDrive. What is the storage limit, right? And how the user can access it on the laptop, how user can access it on the portal through internet, and we will be discussing that. And finally, we have the Teams, which is also a collaboration tool, basically for meetings and chats among the employees within the organization. If they need to chat, if they need to go on a meetings, Teams over the years has improved a lot. They have added a lot more features. We can include apps within the Teams now. For example, there's a app like shifts within the Teams, wherein the team lead or a project manager defines the shift that each employee will be working in, or if the employee is on a leave, he can apply on a leave through the apps available within Teams. There are some add-on apps, and also one important thing to maintain is like this team, whatever storage, because we are chatting with the users, right? So at the back end, it will be taking or consuming some storage. And we are doing meeting, we are doing video calls, right? And we are saving, uploading files in the chats within the teams. So this is all based on SharePoint at the back end. So everything is based on out of SharePoint. And when we create a site or a document library or a site for a project, those can also be accessed directly through Teams. So those are interlinked together. And when we move on to this course, we will explore different features wherein um, these are interlinked, and we can see, and once a site is created, a project is created in SharePoint, how to bring it onto the Teams so that the users, it's easier for the user to collaborate over Teams rather than going to the SharePoint each time and uploading stuff there, keeping track of the stuff on SharePoint. We can do all that on the Teams as well. So we will be doing some deep dive into Microsoft Teams as well. What are the different policies available within Microsoft Teams? Let us suppose a user is creating a chat, right? And till what time that chat will be saved for the organizational archives. Those policies we will implement. Do we want the chat to be recorded by the organization? What are the privacy policies that can be created for Microsoft Teams? Right, there's a lot of stuff at the back end. Licensing requirement, what the different licenses provide different features within Microsoft Teams, right? How to collaborate with external users, so we can have that feature also. Let's suppose you are going on a project within organization that is not part of yours, with a third party organization, with a vendor, with an external vendor, so they would have a different email addresses outside of your organization. How we can communicate with them directly from Teams, and how to configure that access, that all we will cover in Microsoft Teams. So these are the core Microsoft 365 components. When Microsoft launched initially their cloud-based product, Microsoft 365, it was just a replacement of, not a replacement, but just add on to the existing Exchange or on-prem environment, wherein the users had to purchase everything uh, from scratch. They had to purchase the hardware. But to limit or to overcome that purchasing issues for the organization, they launched this license-based Microsoft 365 services, and these were the only four components that came with it. But over the years, it has expanded a lot, and a lot of new features keep adding in into this, making the product very vast and helpful for the organizations. So on top of these core components, we have other features that have now included, like we discussed, Intune
Sir,
is there. Yeah,
I have one doubt. You have,
sure.
can you please move to the previous page? Yeah, here you have mentioned site management. Is
Yes.
same as the Teams channel like, or
No, so yeah, it can be included within the Teams channels, but
okay?
site management, strictly speaking, is something different. It is like the type of site we are creating. What are the different types of, like, if you know the collaboration hub, we have like private sites, right? Public sites. We have team sites. We have communication sites. The purpose of the sites, how to create a hub, right? For managing
Uh,
multiple sites together. So all
mm,
that stuff is included within this. What are the policies that go in the background, right? In which situation you want to create a communication site, in which situation you want to create a private site, how are the settings managed at the back end.
um, could you please tell any example site?
So let us suppose you are working in an organization, right? And what some organizations do is, whenever you open a page or whenever you open a web browser within the organization, right,
Mm,
it automatically loads their SharePoint page.
mm,
So what that page has, it has latest news, announcements, what are the latest HR policies that are implemented in the organization,
mm,
which team is working on what project, what was delivered by the organization for their clients last week. There is a new client onboarding this week. What is scheduled for next week? We are going to have a town hall. There are different apps packaged together. So this kind of a site is a communication site, right? Which communicates information to its employees. This would be managed by backend by an IT person or by an HR person usually, and they would give the
IT
information to the
intranet,
users.
like,
Yeah, intranet, exactly.
okay.
Intranet, right? But
Okay,
there
that is
is
also
another
managed
in
in SharePoint only.
yes,
Okay, okay.
that's also managed in SharePoint. And the other site project was other type of site will be a project or a team site, where a site is created for a specific team, for specific project which has only 5 members. Like we have app development project coming up,
Mm,
and this project is on a priority, and 5 members are there working on this project, so they will have a separate team. and that team will have a separate Teams group also on Microsoft Teams, which will help them collaborate together. So
Okay.
how to manage that also will be covering within SharePoint.
Thank you.
Sure. And moving on to the next set of services, which are or components which are within the Microsoft 365, are Entra ID. So Entra ID, like Hema was talking about, AD domain, right? So what happens is the earlier example, when we go into organization and we sit on a computer and we enter our username and password. So it has to go somewhere in the back end through the authentication process that yes, this user is a valid user, this password is a valid password, and user can access this computer through this. So all of that was initially managed through a server called domain server. Like we had Exchange server for email system, we had a domain server for user management, or in short, it is also called as AD. So to replace this, like we replaced Exchange physical server with Exchange online service, to replace domain servers or AD services, we use Entra ID. So it is just the same way we can create users, groups, which are part of identity. Then it will authenticate their logins, right? Yes, this user is created in Entra ID. This is the correct username. This is the correct password, and the user will be able to sign into the laptop. All that here will be done within Entra ID, and the authentication will be done. Conditional access, we can define some condition that user needs to meet in order to access the resources. Like we can define a condition that whenever user signs in with username password, on top of that he should have MFA, multi-factor authentication, and then the user has to set up for MFA through different apps like Authenticate, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator apps. And after only authenticating through those apps, they will have access to the resources. So this is a condition that the user needs to meet. Another is when user signs in from a laptop with username and password, they should be signing in from Office device only, so that after they are signing in from the off, this is the condition that we have put for the login or for the access. If the user signs in from mobile, if the user signs in from personal laptop, he should not get access. So how to implement these conditional accesses within Entra ID? What are the different types of conditional accesses within Entra ID? We will cover it in detail. And then third, one more solution is for device management. So now, until now, we discussed about the email system within the organization, that is Exchange Online. Then we discussed the different collaboration tools among the employees, that's like SharePoint, Teams. Then we discussed about how the user accounts are created, passwords are created, right? How when user signs into those accounts, how it's authenticated at backend. That service is Entra ID. And now what about the devices? So use an organization has 10 users and they have to purchase 10 laptops, right? So they went on and purchased 10 Dell laptops. Every laptop has its own, right? Operating system. They one user can do multiple stuff on the laptop. He will have Firefox for web browser, other user will have Chrome, other user will install other apps, some will go ahead and install WhatsApp on their laptop. And to prevent all this, we need a single platform where we can manage all 10 laptops and have same policies enabled, so that the managing of these laptops is easier. Today we have 10 laptops, but tomorrow an organization might have 100 laptops, 500 laptops, right? So it will not be easy to implement policy manually on the 100 laptops. So we need a platform for that, and that platform is Intune, wherein we can, once we get a new device, let's suppose we got a Dell laptop, we will first enroll it in our Intune enrollment. So then we will install our custom OS of, so what happens is like some big organizations, when you want to turn on your laptop, they want to have their own logo coming up, right? And when you go into the desktop window by signing into your user account password, the background should be the company logo, company name, company motives, right? And similar stuff like that. The user should have this restriction, the user should not be able to this, user should not be able to do that, right? So we can have our custom OS built, and then we can implement policies for users, like users should not be able to insert pen drive inside the laptop, right? That has risks in it. So all this stuff can be managed through Intune, which is a
The
device
group
and app
policy as well.
management. Yes, everything, group policies as well.
Okay.
Everything will be managed within Intune. And we will going to discuss all this stuff when we are going through this session. We will also discuss about application management. So this is a device management, but what about application management? Because what happens is we want to make a standard within an organization. Example is like we only will use Google Chrome, right? There will be no other browser allowed. So we can make that policy where which installs Google Chrome automatically. Once the device is enrolled within our portal, it will start installing through this policy Google Chrome. And if the user will tries to install another browser, that will be blocked. User will not be able to do that. So like USB drives, the users should not be able to insert pen drive inside the laptops. We can have that policy, and once a device is enrolled into our Intune portal, that policy gets affected and pen drive stuff will not work. So how to make that management, we will discuss. Then there is purview, which is compliance. So there comes a question, like I am doing my organization is a banking organization, right? So in order to have this organization set up, government has, in every country, comes with the rules and regulations that this organization needs to comply with. And there are some certifications around that, or not certifications, basically standards that the government needs to follow for each industry. So if you are an organization and you are focused on security, right? So you need to follow SOC compliance. If you are a mm, regular banking organization, wealth management organization, so you have to follow certain ISO standards. And to help organizations achieve these standards, Microsoft has introduced a platform called Microsoft Purview. So what it does is, let's suppose talk about ISO. There are different versions of ISO standards. Let's say ISO 27001. We have to follow this. So we will go into Purview and ask or select a feature which will give us the requirements of ISO 27001. For example, one requirement which we just discussed is USB should be blocked. So if you're an organization and you are a financial organization, so you have the responsibility of keeping your customers' data safe. And over time, governments have come up with the standards so that this data is protected. And what are those standards is like ISO 27001, 27008, and then there is a version like 24, which was released in year 24, 25, 18, right? 13. 13 and 18 are still more widely used in the organizations. So among those standards, one of the standard is USB should be blocked. Other standard is there should be a antivirus installed on their device. Their third standard is there should be a retention policy for the data. Even if the data is deleted from the device, it should be saved on the cloud, right? So Microsoft helps organizations in being compliant to these services. And the portal that is for that is called Purview Portal, which helps us keep the data safe, which helps us in auditing. This is also one more important requirement, that if any user within the organization tampers with the customer data, whatever he is doing, it should be captured in the form of logs. So whenever you are working within Microsoft 365 environment, whether you are creating a new user, you are assigning access to a user, you are deleting something within the Microsoft 365, your every click is being logged, recorded, and we can recover that action and see which user deleted this user, which or which employee made or created a new user within the organization, which employee deleted some file within the SharePoint, and that all can be recovered through audit logs. So this is a requirement or a compliance requirement that auditing should be enabled within the 365 tenant, right? So to help, we will discuss this all in great detail once we go to the Microsoft Purview, and we should be able to see how these logs are recovered, how this log is implemented, auditing is done, how data is governed, what is DLP, data loss prevention. So for example, one of the primary requirement of all the organizations is whenever we are sending an email, so we should have some standards that we need to follow. For example, customer data should not be shared on email. PII, personal identified information, should not be shared. What is included in it, like credit card numbers, health records, depending upon the type of organization. So if I'm an organization with which is working with health related stuff, right? So I would have access to the customer's health information, their health records. So those health records should not be sent or communicated over email in any case, right? So these are the policies that we have to implement and be compliant about. And why this is very important, because there is an audit every year. There is an audit from customer from government for these big companies. So this audit, they would have to be in compliance. Otherwise, there is penalty, there is fine, or the license of the organization can also be taken away. So you've heard about Big Four, right? It's like PwC, like EY, JP Morgan, right? So these companies are contracted by the governments all over the globe in different companies to fulfill these. KPMG is also one, to fulfill these audit requirements. So on behalf of the government, they take the audits of the smaller organizations and make sure that they are compliant, and then they submit their reports to the government that this company is fully compliant, this is partially compliant, right? And then they receive their tax benefits and all that once they complete this auditing related stuff. So to make all this process easier and simpler, Microsoft has introduced a new platform called Microsoft Purview. I hope you guys that it makes sense, right? You are able to get it, or there are any questions regarding it, you can ask at any time. Feel free to, come in. No questions? Okay. So now we have covered most of the components of Microsoft 365 that we are going to look into. So this would be the core package of Microsoft 365. This would be the Microsoft 365 technology that we consider. The another two, Purview is also part of Microsoft 365. It's not a separate technology like Intune and Entra ID. So for Entra ID, it's a separate technology. Intune is a separate technology. And together, all three are included within Microsoft 365. And depending upon the organization, you would find different roles now available. So if you have a good hold on three technologies, Microsoft 365, when I say Microsoft 365 technology, I mean these core components, okay? Core components including Purview. Or you can have Entra ID, which is an identity-based solution. It is in the job world, you would find different jobs related to these technologies. So if you cover these three technologies, so the jobs that you can apply for, right? They are like regular Microsoft 365 admin. So Microsoft 365 is a admin role, entry level admin role into IT, wherein the expectation would be mostly to manage and administrate the core components only, like Exchange Online, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams. So let's suppose if you're joining a service-based company like Deloitte, and your job role is as Microsoft 365 admin. So you would have multiple clients wherein you would be managing their Microsoft 365 tenant. So they will raise a ticket like, hey, I have a new user coming tomorrow. Please create his account and share me the details. So you will go to the Exchange Online, create a new user, assign a license, and share him username and password. Okay. Or if there's and assign him OneDrive license, another create his OneDrive profile. That. But in real job scenario, you would have an IAM engineer, a separate role, identity access management. So identity access management is entirely a different domain from administration. And there are multiple IAM solutions available today from different companies. So Microsoft's IAM solution is Entra ID. So if Microsoft is such a big company, right? So if you only know Entra ID, you will be definitely able to get a job plus with Microsoft 365. So there are, so if you would open your LinkedIn and look for Entra ID engineer role, you would see a lot of jobs popping up. And yes, there will be some other requirements like experience or any additional tool on top of Entra ID like CyberArk, like, but the concepts are same and very similar. If you know one IAM tool, you can easily catch up with other tools also for IAM. So, and there is a Intune administrator is one of the highest searched jobs currently on LinkedIn is Intune administrator. That job you can also apply for after this. And then third is the compliance manager, which is also a high paid job because as you can see there are a lot of risks policies involved in compliance, and they have mm, consequences as well. If you are not compliant, the organization's license can go away, right? So that's the seriousness of the job when we think in those terms. That's why the compliance manager is the one who gets paid highly in the industry. There is usually a separate compliance and legal team which works closely with these IT people, and they make sure that the compliance that the organization is fully compliant on these services. So compliance manager is one job that you can apply for within Microsoft domain. And the Intune administrator is then Entra ID engineer is another. Then Microsoft 365 admin is already there. So the beauty of this Microsoft 365 is that it opens different channels and different doors, especially for an entry level uh, entry level job. And once you have that foundation and you get a job in on Microsoft 365 technology, and within couple of years, you would see yourself open to all different domains within IT. There are Microsoft 365 developers, there are Microsoft, and then this also gives you an entry into the cloud system. So Entra ID is also very heavily used in Azure as well. There are separate roles within the Azure or cloud systems wherein the necessary skill that you need to have is Entra ID, right? So if you can build on top of that, you can see yourself in a couple of years working in Azure environment, cloud environment. Once you work with one cloud environment, you can do multi-cloud environment. Like after Azure, you can learn AWS, GCP, Oracle, coming different. So this is a great way to start and get your job in IT domain and then build on top of that core experience. So yeah, so in once we go for the exchange online, we can like work on different services within Exchange Online, like mailbox management. What are the types of mailboxes? What is the size of the mailbox for this user? Like if there's a user, he's an entry level, right, user, so he would have a specific size of the mailbox. But if there is a CEO or a top level employee whose main work is to communicate over emails, he should have a different type of mailbox, which would grant him more storage, more permissions, right? All that we will manage within Exchange Online. Mail routing, this is important. While working as an administrator, you will see most of the issues come in from your employees that I sent this email to this user, but this email never arrived. This I was about to receive an email from this organization, but I didn't receive, and they are saying that they have already sent it. So where did the email go? What was the route, right? So those things, there are certain tools, services within Exchange which will help us in email routing, which will help us to filter out spam emails, because most of the times employees will be receiving spam emails also. What are the services provided by Microsoft in Exchange Online to prevent spam, to filter out spam? What are the rules that govern email flow within the organization? That we'll be discussing. And what are the monitoring tools within Exchange Online, like audit logs, if we have to do anything related to email. So there was a distribution list, right? There is a email mailbox basically that is a separate HR mailbox. Five people are using this mailbox, and there was a one important mail which arrived in that mailbox, but one of those five users has deleted that email accidentally or intentionally, due to which that email was missed. Now the HR team will come to you and say, hey, we want to know why that email was deleted, who deleted that email. So we can use the audit logs at that time to trace it. Message trace is used for routing, like I mentioned, the user coming in and telling us that we never received their email. I was sending an email, but it got lost somewhere. We didn't, uh, we were not able to deliver that email. So that things we can trace through here. So SharePoint sites deep dive, which I discussed about types of site, team site, communication site, document libraries, and permissions. What are the different permissions? How to manage, how to integrate SharePoint with Microsoft Teams. What are the different features there? We will be discussing. OneDrive is pretty basic, and we are not going to put so much time into OneDrive, but because it's pretty simple to set it up. It's a license-based, user gets its specific portal, but the issue with the OneDrive is there will come most of the challenges will come from users end, right? If I have OneDrive installed. So like user is using OneDrive like here, and there is a sync error. So why this sync error is, so there will come most of the challenges will be like that. I am missing some files. I have OneDrive here installed, but I am getting across, and this folder, why is this like this? Why is this icon like this, right? What are the different features? What does this symbol mean? So you would get a lot of questions from users stating that what is this OneDrive? So once you see different types of icons, this is just a cloud icon, this is a green check mark icon, this is a solid green icon. So what are their different purposes? Why are there different icons? What does this mean? Because customers are mostly skeptical about data. They want to make sure that, yeah, we have everything available in cloud and we should not lose any data. And sometimes they just get rid of the sync ends, like sync cancels. So they will not find this OneDrive folder. They will come to us, say, where is my OneDrive folder? I'm not able to find OneDrive folder. So these kinds of situations are mostly in OneDrive, rather than any backend stuff in OneDrive. Backend stuff of the OneDrive is very simple, just a few clicks. But from job perspective, you would get more escalations or more tickets from customers related to OneDrive rather than Teams, SharePoint. That's something that we need to keep in mind also. Microsoft Teams, what are the different Teams features available, team groups, teams, channels, how it works, how it can be integrated with other apps, what are the different features like meetings, chats, callings, right? Team policies, how to make Teams has its own admin center, and how to make sure that we have its policies set up fully, and what are the changes that need to be done, how those changes are done, what are some additional features. So Teams also has some additional features like calling. This is not a team-to-team calling. This is like a mobile phone calling where Teams, like you have a Teams account and you will be given a dedicated actual mobile number, and you can call from that mobile number anywhere in the world, wherever those team services are available, and how the licensing works for that. So you can also get a toll-free number for your organization on Teams itself. You do not need to have a toll-free number from any other telecom provider, on directly from Teams, and then how that call gets routed. So if you have a help desk, right, and you have a toll-free number, and there are 5 people working in the help desk, and someone calls that toll-free number and one guy is busy, the primary person who answers the call, then how it would get routed to different 4 people in what sequence, what scenario, right? There's also a concept of auto attendant. If all the 5 people are away, they are not there, so there should be an auto attendant who will attend the call, take the information, and save it somewhere so that one of the guys, when he comes back, he would be getting that reminder that this call was missed and these are the details and from the person who was calling, so we should call him back. So all of that stuff we will look into in Teams Admin Center. Then the Entra ID, which I discussed also, directory objects, how to create users, groups, what are different roles that can be provided to those users, how to make sure that we have the list of the devices that the users are assigned to, right? The users are signing in from their account. How What are different policies available for authentication, basically passwordless scenarios, where to use those, MFA on top of password, what to use. FIDO2 is also one kind of security authentication parameter, especially in banks wherein they want the strong authentication. So on top of password, on top of MFA, they provide them secure cards, right? Or UB keys. Those are physical devices through which the authentication happens. And then we have features like app registrations, SSO. Like if you within an organization, we have we are using 5 different apps, like we are using Jira, we are using Confluence for project management, we are using AWS for some of the stuff, we are using Azure for some of the stuff, right? So this would mean is every time we go into Jira, Confluence, AWS, we have to sign in. So the user would have to sign in into Jira, sign in into Confluence, sign in into AWS. So every time he would have to use different username, password, username, password, username, password. And to prevent this situation and make sure that we have single sign-on available, that the user's email and user's password that he uses to sign into the laptop will be used to sign into every other app within the organization as per access. So how to define that, how to implement that, that is called SSO, single sign-on, which makes the easier for the to manage all this stuff. We'll look into that also. Then we'll go into Intune. We'll check the device enrollment, how Windows laptops, how Mac laptops, right? iOS mobile devices, Android devices can be enrolled in our Intune portal. What are the compliance requirements, which we discussed, how we implement policies on those devices. So those policies are implemented through configuration profiles. This is one of the feature within the Intune, which we will discuss. How the apps are made available within the Intune, like different apps, so that the user does not have to install the apps itself. He will come to us and tell us like, hey, IT admin, I need this app available in my laptop. So how to deploy that app to the user. We will discuss that also. Then Purview, Tenant, which we discussed. For Purview, it's like compliance, like audit search, what are identifying different types of risks, how to classify data and prevent data leakage, right? How to retain data and what should be the life cycle of the data since it's created and deleted, how it flows within the tenant, what are the policies that govern its life cycle. All this stuff we will discuss in Purview. Then we can discuss about the basic tenant structure. So basically, what is a tenant, right? So whenever an organization or any of us want to use the Microsoft 365 service, we just have to go to the 365 service and purchase, basically create an account like we create any other account. We create Facebook account, right? We create any other Google account. Similarly, we have to create Microsoft 365 account, and the space that Microsoft provides us to log in, because at the back end it will be consuming something, right? It will be consuming infrastructure, it will be consuming compute, um, and that dedicated space will be for our tenant only because we are paying for it. So that space is called a tenant. For example, if I go here, right? So how does it know that this is my 365? Because everybody gets to the same page initially, portal.office.com. But once I sign in with my account. You guys will sign with your individual account. So we will get a spread specific or personal space wherein everything related to your account will be saved. How many users? I will get different users. How many I have created? You will get different users. So that specific space is called as tenant. So Microsoft provides a tenant for each of us whenever we create a account within the Microsoft. And it automatically gives us a default domain. So as you can see, in order to have email system, active email system, we need to have a domain, right? Google gmail.com is a domain, and we add our own usernames at gmail.com. So that gmail.com is owned by Google and the email gets routed accordingly. But since we are new, right? So this is just the beginning of the organization and we do not have our own custom domain. So in order to have the service set up without our custom domain, Microsoft automatically provides us basic domain which we can use. So if we go to settings, here we see domains. So we can add multiple n number of domains, but you see the .on Microsoft.com. This is the default domain that gets created automatically once we sign up for a Microsoft 365 account. .on Microsoft.com, .on Microsoft.com. The username can be anything, but it will be only related to .on Microsoft.com. But if you want to use your specific domain, you would have to purchase that domain from providers like GoDaddy, right, Hostinger, and then you can add that domain here. It's pretty simple process. It will ask you what the domain is, right? Like I will say it's my xyz.com which I have purchased, and then it will ask us to use this domain, and it will ask us where you have purchased that domain. We need to sign in into that account, and it will get added to our Microsoft 365. And from that on, see, it says verify your own domain XYZ. You have to do these steps, and from that on, I can, once it's added here, I can use this with my emails, my username at xyz.com, right? Like that. And also depends on, like, some of the features are available in certain countries only. So where you are geographically present, where you have purchased your 365 account, from which country, the services within that account will be um, responsible for that. So it, you can see, like, it has impact on compliance because every country has a different compliance features, right? So if your tenant is in US, another tenant is in India, so what compliance there are for the US will not be available in a tenant which is in India. So those things we have to keep in mind, and we will have to look accordingly. Then there are licensing overview. So this is very important, and broadly this has been characterized into two different types, right? One is for the business, small and medium scale business, and another is for the enterprise level. So if you have roughly around 200 users or more than 200 users, then you should opt for enterprise licenses. And if you have small and medium scale businesses, which means that you have employee count less than 200, then you should go for the business licenses. Let's check the requirements of all three here. 365 licenses. So, so here you can see there are individual plans, which means personal plans, and there are business. So you can have a look at this. Roughly for personal is 6899 per year, and you get all of these apps within it. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Red Designer, OneDrive, antivirus for Defender, and this is the features that it can be used upon. So we are not interested in personal right now, so we'll be going for the business only. So within business, we have two main categories. One is the small business and the other is enterprises. So for your business, if you have employee count less than 200, you should go for business licenses. And within business licenses, there are multiple offerings from Microsoft, and we'll have a look at the each offering. This is the most basic license, which means Microsoft 365 Business Basic. So it's 145 rupees per month in India. In here, we get, oh, they have increased the limit up to 300 now. Okay, that's great. Identity and access management for up to 300 users. And we have web and mobile versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. So which means if your employee has this license, he will not be able to use these apps on the laptop. He will not be able to install those apps on laptop. He will only have access to those apps on the browser. You can get a custom business email, then 1 TB of cloud storage. Cloud, this means OneDrive. So user will get OneDrive up to space of 1 TB. Then some basic additional apps. These are the apps. automatic spam and malware filtering, phone and web support. So most importantly, the user count is important. Sometimes these questions are asked in interview, and what is the difference between different licenses, right? How many users it can support. Chat, call, and video conference with Microsoft Teams. This is all within Microsoft Basic. Then is the business standard, which, as you can see, Microsoft has pointed as most popular, and 770 rupees per user per month, and it has all everything within the basic. So everything that is available within Microsoft Basic plus additional features. See here it has desktop, web, and mobile versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So using this license, an employee should be able to install apps onto the laptop. So if you are joining a webinar or a huge meeting over Teams, so you can have that also. So this would be also up to 300 users. The Teams meeting will have this much of attendee available. It has additional features of apps like Microsoft Loop, right? So it has video editing and design tools with Microsoft Clipchamp. So when you are working as a IT admin, sometimes you get requests. So let's suppose a user has been assigned a business basic license, right? And he's trying to install the apps, but he's not able to because he does not have license, but he doesn't know that, right? So he will come to the IT admin and raise a ticket or call, tell that we are not able to install the app. So at that time, you should have an idea like, okay, so if the apps is which he's not able to install, instead of doing the troubleshooting, we should first check his licenses, whatever his licenses are. Is he eligible to install? After that, we will move on to the next step. Okay, so yeah, he should be having, he has desktop, he has like business standard license, so he should be able to. But if you see that he has only business basic license, you can tell him straight away that your license does not support desktop apps, right? Similarly, when you know all these stuff, so troubleshooting on the tickets becomes very easy. The premium license for small and medium scale businesses is Microsoft 365 Business Premium version per user per month, and it has some additional features. As you can see, there are multiple additional apps included within it, and there are some enterprise grade. So see, device and endpoint protection. So you can enroll basically your device with this license into Intune, and you can have them protected through antivirus if you have this license. Because it's all license based. So every service, every feature within Microsoft 365 will cost you a license. And if you have that license, you will be able to use the service. If you do not have that license, you will not be able to use that service. As simple as that. No infrastructure, nothing required. So these are the three licenses for small and medium scale businesses. But if you have your enterprise licenses, like you have your business scales more than 300 users, then you should opt for these E3 license, E5 license. These are also the same way, like desktop web apps are available in E3 license. 1 to 5 plus TB of cloud storage. This can be expanded. So by default, it will be 1, but if the user needs more storage on his OneDrive, we can expand it up to 5 TBs. Identity and access management for unlimited users. See, so here there is no cap of the amount of users you want to use within our tenant. But if you are small and business scale, if you have a business license, then up to 300 users you can only have in your organization. But if you want enterprise license, then there is no limit for users. So these have some additional features like Windows for enterprise, antivirus, and malware, anytime phone and web support. That's pretty basic. And then E5, which is the highest, this is the most highest or most advanced license available within Microsoft 365. It's called E5 license. It has some analytics and XDR. XDR is like extended detection and responses. So like we have auditing at the user level for mailboxes, users, right? Groups. So this consider this as an auditing service for the device, which app you installed, which email you sent when, right? What browser you accessed, which website you accessed for what time, when you access that. So everything is included within XDR, and this is also managed through Intune. So we have all these features available within E5. This is the most advanced and most costlier as well. Uh, all the enterprise level big organizations, right? They always use E5 license within their organization. And then there is F3. This is the most basic of the, like we have the business basic without apps and all that for 300 users. But if you are an enterprise more than 300 users and you need only basic apps like web apps only, like for frontline workers, right? So it has this kind of support, web apps only for Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So 3 license in basics and 3 license in enterprise. Most powerful is E5. Any questions, guys? So now that we have the licenses, so quickly here it reference to the assignments. So the system is based on per user license. So every user, in order to have certain features, services, they need to have that license. So let's suppose if I have 300 users in my enterprise, it will be very difficult to have to manage those licenses, because if I want to manually have a license assignment for each user. So it will take up to 300 users, and it will be difficult to manage and track the licenses as well. Tomorrow, today it's 300, tomorrow it could be 600, 700, 500, right? 1000, 1500. So at that time, it becomes very difficult. So to overcome that, we have we have the license assignment automated. So we just need to have specific conditions defined, and according to those conditions, the license will be applicable for the user. For example, while setting up a user account, we know that uh, we have different departments. So user profile, while we set up, the user profile shows which account you want to create it. So let me quickly show you real quick. So let's suppose I'm creating a user here, right? It gives me different fields: first name, last name, display name, and password. Optional settings, you can see profile info, job title, department. So let's suppose if I define, if the user's department is HR, give him the basic license. Okay. If the user's department is IT, give him the advanced license. Define the license: E3, E5, F1, business basic, or even job title. If his job title contains the word like lead, so give him the advanced license. So that way we can automate the license assignments. And this is done through Entra ID, through groups, useful for departments and onboarding. So we don't have to assign the license manually to the users. When we define those conditions, the license assignment will be easier to manage and scale. And then there are admin centers. So we mentioned earlier also that we would be working mostly with admin centers. So every service, every component of Microsoft 365 has its own admin center. So if I have, so if Microsoft, this is the default that comes up, Microsoft 365 admin users. So when we go to admin.microsoft.com, it lands us this page. And once you sign in, so you can see on the top it says Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So this is the default Admin Center. It has following lists. We can ignore the Copilot and agents because these are the most new features and we'll be not covering these stuff in this. So we can start from users. So users are there. What are the different features within the users, like active users? I want to check how many active users are there in my organization. So it will give me a list of all these users. It will give me their username, what is the primary email that these users are using, what are the licenses that are assigned to these users. It will show me that information. There is some other tabs here on the top. You can see if I want to add another user, there's a new user joining my company, right? Onboarding. So I can use this field add user and then fill out the details here. If I want to create a template so that every time I do not need to add basic users, right? So I will create a template and I will use this template to add new users to my organization. Everything which is present in templates will be
Sorry to
available.
interrupt, Sakib. Sakib.
Yes,
So, so here you seeing the users, right? These maybe catered in Azure Active Directory or the users which are synced from on-prem to Azure. So those users also will be displayed. So you can assign license. Just
yes.
answering
So
the Hema question in
yes,
the images.
correct. Yeah, she asked earlier. So so
Okay.
this is a standalone cloud environment, right? We do not have any hybrid environment for this. But if we have a hybrid environment and we have connected this to the AD on-premises domain server, then whatever servers we have created in the AD will also reflect here. And whenever we need to assign any license or make any change, we can do that from here. This is where we can make the changes. We want to update the username, assign the license, block the sign in, right? Reset password, check their email services, licenses and apps. All things can be managed here in this field. And then there is multi-factor authentication here on top, but we will not be doing it through this field. It's redundant, never recommended to this. It's only for small organizations. Multi-factor authentication is always implemented through conditional accesses. So you can see it automatically takes us to the Entra admin center. Entra is where we have all our users groups hosted. So these are interconnected together. We have users here also for Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Same users are here also under Entra Admin Center. And what was okay. So this is the overview of the Entra this 365 Admin Center, and these are the things that we can see here if we want to delete a user and all that stuff. And there are some roles assignments. If we want to provide any role to a specific user, like there is an admin, global admin role, which has access to everything within the Microsoft 365. But if we want a smaller role, for example, if I want a user to only be able to modify user accounts like reset password, delete account, create new user account. So for that, we have a different user administrator role. So the access to the users or access to the employees who are working in the IT department will be managed not individually, but through roles assignments. So if I have 10 users in my organization who are working in IT, I will not give admin access to everybody, right? So that's where the principle of least privilege comes in. I will give them only that much of access which is required for them to complete their day-to-day tasks. And Microsoft has pre-built different roles for those. Like if we are looking for roles within Entra ID, these are all the roles available. Help desk administrator, and it tells us what actions this role can do. Resets password, authenticates for all non-admins and some admin roles, manages service requests and monitors service health. Right? SharePoint administrator, full access to SharePoint online, manages Microsoft 365 groups, manages service requests and monitors service health. User administrator, resets user passwords, creates and manages. So if you are working in the IT department and your role is only related to the SharePoint queries, SharePoint tickets, then you would only receive SharePoint administrator role. And by that, you will not be able to make any changes outside of SharePoint, only what you are assigned. Okay. Global administrator is the highest level of role which can be assigned within Microsoft 365. It says has unlimited access to all management features and most data in all admin centers. So in addition to the changes within the admin centers, it also has access to the billing stuff. Right. So if you want to pay a bill, if you want to generate an invoice, right? So change your payment method, update your payment method, right? All this stuff is an additional feature and which is only available in global administrator or specific billing related roles. There would be some billing roles also. The billing administrator is there. So if you have someone working in the finance department who does all this stuff, so you can assign that person this billing role so he can or she can pay off the bills and all that stuff, generate invoices and make collection of all that. So this is called role-based access control. Whatever role you have in the organization, according to that, you will be granted the access. So this is Entra IDs and this is Exchange. Different roles are available within the Exchange admin center. Then there are different roles. So you can see within the Exchange, they have put it like compliance administrator. So if you are a compliance administrator, you should have access to settings for device management, data loss prevention, making reports, right? Within the compliance manager or the Purview portal, which we discussed earlier, Microsoft Purview. That's also a portal. So all these services here within the exchange are available, and depending upon the role, here there are some roles available within the Intune administrator. If you are specifically working within the Intune, okay, they're not showing anything here. I think Intune is not enabled on this tenant. That's why it's not showing any roles. Billing is here. Billing account, billing account owner, billing account reader. So these are three roles related to the billing scenarios. And then there is the marketplace. This is the resources. Look, if we have certain rooms within the organization, right? And like there's meeting rooms, how to create email accounts for those meeting rooms specifically so that you can book those meeting conference rooms available. What are the different types of conference room? If you have any laptop, right? If there's or asset, not just laptop. If there's an asset, there's a town hall. So you have the organization is very big and there are multiple assets and you need to book an asset for a specific period of time. You need to book a laptop. You need to book any IT equipment like this big that monitor screens, right? A specific monitor screens, that audio visual system for town hall. So you can, for those, they have created specific emails. So if I send and book this email, so I would have to just send an email to this, and this laptop will get assigned to me for that specific period of time. This we will discuss in detail how it is set up and how it works. Then marketplace is important. This is where we purchase the services. For we discussed that there are different licenses available, and if we need specific license, we can just search for it and purchase the license from here. Like basic is here, business basic, month to month, business premium. Remember, this is annual product and this is month to month. So billing here will be done from month to month, and here you would have to pay upfront cost for 1 year. Different licenses available, different features within those licenses are available here. There are some standalone solutions. So Microsoft 365 provides a set of different features, right? But let's suppose I am a new organization, I am just starting myself, I have only 2, 3, 4 users. At this time, I do not need Intune, I do not need SharePoint, right? I do not need any of that stuff. I just want email system only. So for those specific requirements, Microsoft provides specific standalone solutions, and we can see Exchange Online Plan 1. So this plan gives us only access to sending and receiving emails on the web or, or Outlook on PC. So if you have an Outlook app on your laptop, you can just sign into that with your email, and you will be able to send and receive emails from your account. So this is just $4 per license, I mean per user per month. And if you want, so by default, Microsoft gives you 1 TB of space, right, for OneDrive. But if there is a certain user who needs more than 1 TB, then we can use that specific license standalone OneDrive for Business Plan 2, which would increase the license of storage license for that user.
Sakib, sorry, how much we can increase, like 1 TB to maximum size?
So it comes in the bundle. You can have up to 200 TBs, but then you would have to distribute that in terms of the users. It doesn't come directly as a per user license. So let's suppose you have to purchase this at the organization level, and then you would have to distribute those license, that space for specific users. So I have by default like 100 TB license available, and that 100 TB license will get consumed depending upon the licenses I have distributed to the users in terms of 1 TB, 1 TB, 1 TB. But I am now running out of those licenses and I need more space. Then I would have to increase the space to 200 TB. And from that 100 additional TB, I can allocate more space to the users depending upon their needs and requirements. And this is the
Shaggy.
normal,
Yeah.
domain.
Can we check how many license we have? For example,
Yeah, yeah,
about, yeah, where I have to check.
yeah. So if we go to billings, so
Mm.
you will see all the billing related information. So if you go to licenses, it will show you all subscriptions that you are assigned to here.
Okay. No, can I able to check? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So it will show you. So this tenant does not have any license, right? So
Mm.
whatever license you purchase, you will show you how many of those licenses are available, what is the subscription name that you have purchased, how many
Mm.
of those you have assigned
Okay.
out of those, right? And then it also shows you here under your products also, like if here it only shows active licenses under license, but
Mm.
if you had purchased a subscription in the past like this one and it's currently disabled, it will give you the details about that also. Like it was a trial license which was
Okay.
purchased. We used 4 license, we purchased 20, we assigned only 16,
Mm.
4 were unassigned, but the status of the subscription is disabled. The other subscription is active, right? We have assigned 5 licenses. And one important thing to remember here is that the billing is done in terms of purchase licenses. So if we purchase 20 license, I'll be billed for 20 license. But out of these 20 license, I have only assigned 16. So 4 were just free licenses there. We did not have. we did not use these 4 license, but still we will be billed for these license because we have purchased those license. Active license assignment is here. We can increase, decrease the license also depending upon the type of license we have. So let us suppose if I go here, you can assign license here. It will give us more details. Who license, who is assigned, who has. You can manage subscriptions here. Under your products, we can also do the same. Ali, can you please mute? There's noise coming. Thank you. So here we can see, so since this is already disabled, we can delete this detail, but if this would have been an active license, now it would have given us the options to increase the license count and all. If we want
Okay.
to purchase more licenses out of this subscription. So we have purchased 20 only, right? But if we need 24, 25, we need 30 of the same subscription. Instead of purchasing new 365 E5 license, we will just increase the count of this license from here.
Okay.
Okay, so all the billing related information is provided here. So settings, domains, we discussed organization settings, what are the different services that are available at your tenant level. Microsoft installation options, those we can manage from here. Microsoft Forms, Loops, these are the different apps or services within your tenant that are available to you with different licenses. That information is here, like under services. This is your profile that you set up during the setup, right? You create data location, help desk, organization information, what is your organization name, and what are the different emails that you will be using to, what is the address that you will be billed to. All that stuff comes here, and this information we have to give while setting up for the account.
Sakib, I have another doubt. Can I able to check what are all the access I have through the Entra?
Yeah, through the Entra you can use that. So you would have to go to that service and check. So let us suppose, see, it depends from organization to organization. Let's say this is the user and you want to see what this user has access to, right? So you would see mostly in the organizations, the access is managed through groups. So you would see here, this user is part of this many groups,
Okay.
and accordingly that he would have access, right? So let's suppose there is a group like design. So this group gives access to the design apps like Canva, Adobe Reader, and all that. So similarly, you would be able to find out like this access is here. You would be able to see what applications he has access to, if any. You would be able to see what licenses this user is using, right? What devices this user has signed
For
into.
example, one user is asking for one site permission. Okay. Can we directly add the permissions here, or we need to do it from the on-prem?
No, so this is a site permission question. So most likely it will be related to SharePoint, right?
A site
So we
or
would,
access, anything.
sorry, what?
Um, they will ask some access for a particular site. They will ask the permissions, right?
So for
We,
that, we would have to go into SharePoint now because the sites are hosted in SharePoint. We do not
okay.
have sites hosted in Entra ID or Microsoft 365. That's why it's important to understand where the service that the user is asking for, where it lies, right? Because
Mhm.
there will be multiple services within the organization, and you have to identify the right location of that service.
Okay. No, what I'm asking, somebody will ask for the access. Okay, we just go to the Active Directory and we have some ARS group. We will add the user in the particular group, then they can
Yeah,
able to access that link. The
yes.
same we have to do it on the SharePoint, or we need to do it on the ARS. I'm asking.
No, so what in this case it's called a group-based assignment.
Yeah,
So,
yes, yes.
right, so we
Mm,
discussed earlier, if you remember, that the license assignment can be automated, right? So let's
mm,
suppose if we have 10 users, we cannot individually give access to those 10 users
mm,
manually. It
mm,
will be challenging. So same way, we create groups and allocate accesses or assign accesses to those groups for
mm.
specific services. So right in this case, the group that is created is a security group, and the access matched to that security group is that SharePoint site, right? So in
Mm,
order to go to the SharePoint site and provide access to that, it is easier just to add user to that group, and automatically service that user will have access to that service. Similarly here, if you can see, I have created a group here in the security group, and this group has multiple services attached to it. For example, E5 license. So I have a user coming up tomorrow, and I need to give him license. So we decided that we will not be giving individually assigning licenses to the users, but what we will do is we will assign through groups. So whoever gets added to this group will automatically get assigned E5 license.
okay.
So this is a like group-based assignment is applicable on all services, on
Okay.
SharePoints, on licenses, on this, but you have to configure that access first. After adding and removing is easy from the group, but how this group will be configured so that when someone will be added to this group, uh, access E5 license will be assigned, or in your case, access to the SharePoint file will be given.
Okay.
That is through security groups. Once it's established, then we would have to come here and add users. We can do it from Entra ID also. We can do it from here also. Both are same.
Okay.
Okay, let's quickly go through the admin centers, different admin centers available to us, and then we'll wrap up. Uh, we're already past 5-10 minutes. So, like I mentioned, that every access will be managed into different admin centers, right? So, if we have by default, we go into the Microsoft 365 admin center mode, which helps us showcase users, billings, and different settings. And Microsoft 365, the Entra admin gives us conditional accesses, Entra specific roles like users and applications, sign-in logs, all that stuff we can check from Entra admin. Exchange admin is related to the email and stuff. So all these admin centers we can see here. So this is the Azure. If you want to go into Azure portal, you can go it from here using your account, and it will log in, open the Azure portal. And depending upon the services, say we don't have any subscription, we can begin using the free trial, using the Entra ID, right? And all this stuff. And these are the different services within the Azure that we can use. This is not part of our course, so let's skip it. But Exchange, we'll be discussing in detail about Exchange Admin Center. So Exchange is like related to emails, mailboxes. So this is the user who has been created. This is the mailbox, right? What are the different types of, you want to add a shared mailbox? What is a regular mailbox, shared mailbox? What are different email groups that are created here under Exchange? What are resources? Mail flow is an important part which we discussed about rules that govern the email flow within the organization, how to create those rules, how to assign those rules, right? Disable, enable, what would be the status? Message traces, if we are looking for an email when the user says that he was about to receive an email from external vendor or from anybody, and he did not receive it, and the sender is saying that he has already sent it. When someone comes to you, says that, hey, I sent 5 emails today, but none of those emails got delivered, what was the reason? So we can track those or trace those emails through this tool. How to use this tool, what are the different other roles, what is the migration folder, right? What are the organization settings that we have set up? What is the sharing policy? How do you want to share your stuff with an organization or with the third party organization? All that thing will be covered under Exchange Admin Center. And the third is Entra, which we already discussed. This is the Entra ID Admin Center. Microsoft Purview, this is the Compliance Admin Center, which will give us access to the compliance related stuff. What are the different compliance policies that have been enabled at the tenant? Is the policy being implemented correctly or not? What are the different alerts? What is the audit if we want to do the audit of any activity for any user? Right, we have to do this. Is the audit enabled or not? We can do this. Um, what is the compliance manager is also there. What is your compliance score? It gives us a compliance score related to the industry that we are working in, like 60%, 70% compliant, 70% compliant. We can work on this to improve the compliance score of the organization. So we are 57%, but at the times of the audit, you would get the tasks to increase this score, implement, achieve more points out of this, and how to do that stuff, right? And these are failed risk policies. We have to implement these. All these recommendations are given by the Microsoft itself. So we can do that. Assessments. What are different assessments like ISO 27001 baseline data protection baseline for Microsoft. So similarly, we have all the assessments available depending upon the regulation that our business aligns with, right? So all this stuff will be done in the compliance center. Then we'll also, not most, this will be the most of it. Okay. And Purview platform is not security, we'll be discussing here. Microsoft security and compliance portal. What are some alerts that get generated in case of phishing email gets sent, right? How to prevent phishing. So the tool that Microsoft uses for it is called Microsoft Defender, and there are all different alerts, right? Incidents alerts, email and collaboration alerts. You will receive an alert if you configured it, if a malware gets sent to an email or a mailbox, how it can scan. So if a user is sending an attachment, right, from one person to another, that attachment should get scanned. Or if it is receiving an attachment, that attachment should get scanned first. After that, it will get delivered to the user's mailbox to prevent. So how to have all these services, right? And what to do, quarantine policies and rules, threat policies, anti-spam policy, right? Anti-phishing, anti-malware policy. So all of this we will be doing in the coming days. All right, guys, I'll now create your accounts here, and whoever has registered, through that form will get an email link to this account. And after that, you can sign into the account and start exploring it. And from now tomorrow, we will start taking on to the exchange online, and we will cover one by one all the core concepts, and we'll do the setups. Any questions so far?
Okay, Shahid.
Sagib, thanks for the session. So I'll give a list of users registered to you, so you can go ahead and create. And who
Yeah.
registered, you will getting the recording link to your email. So you'll get the read access for the recorded session, and also you can join from the WhatsApp link to get upcoming classes schedules and updates. Yes, thanks. Okay, thanks to everyone.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All
Shakib.
right.
Thank you, team.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, thanks, sir.